This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first, call your parents to say, I'm sorry. And then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee for your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 per order. Additional terms apply. Nothing is more important than getting a good night's sleep, and when you don't get the rest you need, your whole day is thrown off. That's why it's so important to choose the right mattress. Sleeping on a Purple mattress is truly a unique experience, because Purple mattresses are made with a GelFlex grid. The GelFlex grid is an innovative material that moves with your body to relieve pressure in areas like knees and hips, and support in others like your back. It feels soft where you want it and supports where you need it. Purple mattresses instantly adapt when you move. You don't sink in and get stuck like with memory foam. And thanks to over 1,400 air chambers in the GelFlex grid, you will sleep cooler on a Purple mattress. Purple has a wide variety of mattresses, from the original Purple mattress to the Restore Hybrid collection that combines GelFlex grid with coils, and the Rejuvenate Luxe collection, the height of luxury, with over 112,000 5-star reviews to prove it. Visit purple.com to find the perfect Purple for you and enter code podcast10 to get 10% off.
Now, with the MLB app, you can get baseball your way. Pick your favorite team, your favorite players, and get customized highlights, stories, and breaking news right on your home feed. Follow the action with Game 10, where 3D replays add another dimension. Plus, notifications can keep you connected to every pitch, every hit, every game. The MLB app. Baseball your way. Download it now for free from the App Store or Google Play. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission.
Portions of the day's programming are reproduced by means of electrical transcriptions or tape recordings.
This is the Bob and Jeff Show, starring Bob Lutz.
These employees that are always wanting, a pat on the back, I don't have time for it. You think people are running by me telling me what a good job I'm doing on this show?
Hi-yo! Jeff Lutz.
Never. And there's a reason for it. You're not doing that good of a job.
Oh, shocking monsters. 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Listen to this if you can.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome to a Wednesday edition, the Bob and Jeff Show, KFH Radio. Bob Lutz, Jeff Lutz, co-hosting Max Power, producing engineering, and 869-1240, the IHOP hotline. I see now why you're a little dour.
Why am I dour? I haven't said a word today.
Check the scoreboard.
What is it now?
4-2.
Are we batting? Are we winning? Do we have anybody on
going
base?
To the 8th.
It's probably over.
Well, Arizona's a good team, and you don't want to mess with them.
Arizona, I'm going to say this, not just because the Guardians are losing to them. Arizona might be the best team in baseball as of right now. Their rotation is about to...
I would calm down a little bit on that.
Their rotation is about to be Gallen, Fott, Rodriguez, Kelly, Montgomery, which is very, very good. Their lineup is good. They've got speed. They've got...
Their lineup's okay. They've got Josh Bell hitting 4th.
Well, Josh Bell's like 12 for 10 in this series.
Well, you can't get him out, but everybody else seems to be finding a way.
And the only reason he's hitting 4th is because Christian Walker is not.
Well,
healthy.
he's hurt, right? But that's not. Let's not go crazy. They're a good team.
Arizona is a very good team.
No, they're a good team that's 9 games over.
No, they're a very good team.
You're a floundering team that's 22 games over. And that's where we are.
Why don't you just listen to me? Why don't you just trust me? I know what I'm talking about. They're not just a good team. The Diamondbacks went to the World Series last year, and right now their roster is better than their World Series roster. And they're very good.
No, that's wrong.
It's not wrong.
Corbin Carroll's not having nearly the year he had last year. In fact, he's having a pretty poor year.
Okay, but their pitching is lights out.
He did homer today. They're good. I told you that's a team to watch, but they're not as good as they were last year.
Yes, they are. They absolutely are.
Rodriguez has not pitched.
He's about
Montgomery has is easing his way in. Gallen hasn't had as good a year as he had last year, nor has Merrill Kelly, who's been hurt.
I'm telling you, that team is primed. If they get back to the World Series, I'm not going to be surprised. You just got to hear me. Have you played them yet?
Of course we have. We knocked those
4 months ago when they weren't that good. Now they are very good. And you need to be on the lookout. They're going to be in the playoffs. They're dangerous. Just be ready.
Oh, Jeff.
Just be ready.
I wish you knew a little bit more than you know, but
just
it's okay.
Trust me. Just believe me. Instead of you can push back in your mind, but outwardly I need you to be like, okay, well, let's see. Let's see. I believe you. I know that you've seen them. You're watching.
I'm the one that said months ago that watch that team.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Well, I'm telling you now.
And they're a good team.
They're a
but
very
I don't
good
view
team.
them as the favorite to get to the World Series.
Well, they very easily could. Who is?
National League. I view the Padres as the current favorite.
Really? And they're like 12 over. So what?
Well, here's why.
Separates those 3 games.
Well, here's why. Would you like to hear? I don't view the Phillies as being the favorites anymore because I don't trust them.
Well, they've been
Their
horrible.
Bullpen's not good enough. I don't trust the Mets, even though the Mets have been one of the best teams in baseball over the last month or two. I don't trust the Brewers because they haven't. They're winning not a great division. I don't trust the Dodgers because their lineup's not good enough.
Fine.
So the team I trust is the Padres.
Okay, well, the team I trust is Arizona. And we'll see how it goes down in just a couple short months.
We will. But you look at that Padres team, now they got a bunch of guys who are having good years in their lineup. Arizona doesn't. They got a couple. But the Padres have a better lineup. I mean, you look
Arizona
at
has much better pitching.
No, not really. Now, see, that's where you went awry.
They will once.
You got Jerickson Profar having a really good year. Jackson Merrill. You got guys up and down
that. You trust Jerickson Profar.
That up and down that lineup.
2 guys you've named.
I'm telling you. Cronenworth's having a good year.
Not really.
Yeah, he's hitting. He's having an okay year. Luis Arias is having an okay year. Bogart started to hit. A lot of things to like about that Padres.
Right, you like San Diego, I like Arizona, and never the twain shall meet.
Well, we'll see now. Well, Max has it written down. I call the Padres to have a better shot than the Diamondbacks.
I just saw the Padres play Cleveland, and they took 2 out of 3, and they were good, but I think Arizona is better. That is what I see with my eyes.
Well, when are you going to get good again?
Probably never.
That's what you need to worry about.
Are we winning yet?
No, of course not.
Well, that's too bad.
You're not winning. And you know, as critical as I am of my baseball team, I'm right there last night watching them.
Well, good for you.
I'm getting excited when Victor Scott II hits his first big league home run.
How'd that look?
I'm thrilled when Tommy Pham hits another one. Boy, what a good acquisition. I hope we give him something because 19 different teams should have went out and gotten him. Why didn't you? You downplayed it, and I remember that. Oh, we don't want Tommy Pham in the clubhouse. Tommy Pham is a better hitter than Lane Thomas.
They're about the same. And Lane Thomas is 0 for his last 19.
Then they're not the same.
Well, over the course of
Tommy
the season.
Pham's hitting as a Cardinal? About 900.
Okay, well, he's played 4 games.
Well, how many's Lane Thomas play?
More than that. He's 0 for his last 19.
Right.
That's at least 5 games right there.
So that's what
He's terrible.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. The Royals could have used Tommy Pham. Anybody in contention could have used Tommy Pham. You know what he doesn't ever do?
Win?
He never takes a bat at bat. You know what I mean? Like he never looks silly in a bat. He's always pumping up there. He's good.
He's a professional.
Yeah, he's good.
He's a veteran.
And I'm glad we got him. I just hope they don't waste it, which I think they're going to do.
Well, they're probably going to waste it, but that's okay. At least you'll have some fun down the stretch. Get some energy into your team, which has none.
No, they don't. And I don't need you to tell me who has energy.
Well, I'm telling you.
You know who always has energy?
Who?
Me.
No, I wish.
What do you mean?
Not always.
On this show, I do.
Well, go for it.
Here's what we have. At 2:25, and this is a guest who's going to mean something only to Jeff and me, but we think you'll enjoy hearing from him because he means something to Jeff and me. His name's Jim Ed Norman. He's a lifelong friend of our guy, Don Henley. They grew up together in Linden, Texas, believe it or not, in the middle of nowhere in eastern Texas. They formed a band when they were young guys. They moved to California. They tried their band. It didn't work. Henley went another way with the Eagles. Jim Ed Norman has been a part of Don Henley's life for 70 years. And he's going to be our guest today at 2:25. At 2:45, Derek Stroop, comedian, will join the show. And at 3:25, we will continue our Big 12 previews with Don Williams from the Lubbock Avalanche.
Oh, Don's back.
We're going to talk Texas Tech. That guy's amazing. He's been there forever.
He has, and he doesn't look like he's ever leaving. Do we not need Mike Furchess today?
I hadn't heard from Mike.
Okay,
I thought he was on the road. So I guess not. We'll work Mike in when he gets back.
Yeah, of course.
We love Mike. You told him to stop in Effingham, Illinois, of all places.
Yeah, what's wrong with
in Effingham?
I don't know. They got a Nike outlet store. They got an Arby's. It's a nice place.
That's a stop along the highway.
Yeah, I like I-70 stops.
He's looking for a little more, something with a little more appeal.
What are your top 5 cities along I-70?
I don't think about it. I've never thought about it.
Well, you got to put Terre Haute in there.
No, I don't have to put Terre Haute in there.
I'm a Terre Haute guy. You got to put Zanesville, Ohio.
I don't have to. I don't even know what the cities are.
Obviously, you're going to put.
I go right through them.
Obviously, you got to put Effingham in there.
I go right through them. I never stop at one of them.
Really?
No. St. Louis is my favorite.
And Indianapolis, of course.
I like Colby.
Well, that's west. You don't really.
I like Hayes.
We don't go west a lot on
I like the state of Kansas.
No, nothing else?
I like Colorado.
That's barely. Colorado?
I like, you know what I like?
What?
I like Salina.
You're not a Zanesville guy?
No, I like Kansas. Can't stand Ohio.
Really? What's wrong with Ohio?
You know what's wrong with Ohio. It's never been any good.
Zanesville right over to Pittsburgh. It's a wonderful trek.
So anyway, that's what we got coming up on the show today. Royals going to avoid a sweep against the Boston Red Sox. These games now really start to mean a lot when you're in the hunt, as the Royals are. And Boston is right behind them in the wild card chase in the American League. Let's update that. It's been a little while since I looked at that. Where are we in the wild card chase in the American League?
I don't know.
Right now, the Orioles, Twins, and Royals are in. Royals with the last wild card spot. Boston half a game out, so that could change tonight. The Astros 4 out, the Rays 4.5 out, and that's your wild card chase in the American League. The Royals were moving up in the race with Cleveland and Minnesota, but a couple of losses here. And you don't want to be losing games at this time of the year.
It hurts.
It's tough.
But you're not going to win them all. And Cleveland has Minnesota this weekend, so if they're for real, they'll take care of business. And
what if they're not?
And if they're not for real, if they're in between, they'll not take care of business.
Royals go from this series to a brief 2-gamer against St. Louis, Friday and Saturday.
What's with having Sunday off?
I know, that's weird, but that's the quirk of the schedule. Then the Royals are at Minnesota, at Cincinnati, home against the Angels and Phillies. Then they go on a big road trip, 4 in Cleveland, 4 in Houston, then at home for 3 against Cleveland, 3 against Cincinnati. Then they go to New York to play the Yankees. They're on the road to face the Pirates, which is no fun. They've got a very difficult schedule. They got to get through all of that before they end the season with Detroit and San Francisco at home and a road trip to Washington and Atlanta.
It's never easy out there.
You like being in contention, Royals fans? It just takes the life out of you because every pitch now matters.
It's awful.
And I kind of like not being in the mix.
You do?
I could get used to it.
Just sit in front of your TV with no stakes and nothing really that matters.
Well, I've still got my team's still kind of in it, right?
I guess.
Let's check the National League wild card picture.
Kind of by default.
In the National League, you still got the Padres, Diamondbacks, and Braves. Mets a game and a half out. Cardinals 3, Pittsburgh 4, Giants 4.5, Reds 5.5, Cubs 6. It's so tight in the National League.
Yeah, but once you're 6 back and you're
tough.
And behind that many teams,
I didn't put the Cubs in. I almost didn't say the Cubs, but I decided to go ahead and say them.
I guess they're half games.
And I say the
behind
Cardinals are still in. They're 3 out. They're only behind the Mets and the Braves. The Braves are in a free fall right now.
Yeah, just all the good teams have done that recently, except I guess the Yankees. Although they had one kind of before the All-Star break. Phillies are still in theirs. Braves are still in theirs. Guardians can't really pull the nose up.
I wouldn't give you a nickel for the Cardinals' chances, but I gotta hang in there, don't I?
Well, do your best.
They got the Rays again tonight. Kyle Gibson on the mound against Eric Fetty tonight. And then Kyle Gibson tomorrow. Then the Royals, they face Lorenzen and Waka and not Reagans or Lugo. That's a good thing.
Sure.
But the Royals, I don't know if they can beat the Royals.
It's tough.
They didn't beat them in St. Louis.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably not going to go on the road and win both of those games. You ready to take a break and get to Jimmy?
No, it drives me nuts. This is driving me nuts.
Well, let's take a break.
I'm not taking a break.
I told Jim we might call a bit early.
We'll get it. We'll get to Jim Ed Norman. He's 77 years old. He's not hanging around waiting for us to call.
He sure is.
You think he's excited about this?
I don't know.
Who are these people? What's his wife's name? Martha?
Know. It's probably Martha.
Who are these
it's always
people?
Martha.
He can't be excited about it.
He said he enjoyed Here's his first text to me. Jeff, I'm so sorry. 2 so's. Have been in the studio nonstop and just getting caught up on texts, emails, and phone calls. I would love to participate in anything Eagles should you ever do it again. I was trying to do something for Friday's show. Didn't really pan out. P.S. I love Wichita and enjoyed my time there.
Wonder when he was here.
We'll have to ask him.
We will have to ask him.
He said, I have time. Sounds like fun. He said, I'll make it work. Looking forward to it.
Well, we'll see what Jim Ed brings.
Yeah, absolutely. I bet he brings a lot. One of the great conductors of our time.
Yeah, he was a musical director for the Hotel California tour, right?
Yeah, well, he was the conductor.
The musical conductor. They have many conductors.
Musical directors, I think, Will Hollis.
No, you have a musical conductor, and then you have a real conductor.
I don't think.
You understand what I'm saying?
Not
Somebody
really.
who's conducting.
A train conductor?
No, a conductor.
I don't know what that means.
The systems.
I don't know. I don't know what that means.
Oh, it's fun to tweak you.
Let's go to...
Don't be telling me what to do.
Come on. We don't get this opportunity very often.
You want me to do most of the interview?
Of course not.
We'll take a break. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk with Jim Ed Norman, musician deluxe, and the reason he's on this show is because he's worked closely with Don Henley, who's a lifelong friend, of course, the leader of the Eagles. And we'll talk with Jim Ed Norman next.
This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first, call your parents to say, I'm sorry. And then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee for your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 per order. Additional terms apply. Nothing is more important than getting a good night's sleep, and when you don't get the rest you need, your whole day is thrown off. That's why it's so important to choose the right mattress. Sleeping on a Purple mattress is truly a unique experience, because Purple mattresses are made with a GelFlex grid. The GelFlex grid is an innovative material that moves with your body to relieve pressure in areas like knees and hips, and support in others like your back. It feels soft where you want it and supports where you need it. Purple mattresses instantly adapt when you move. You don't sink in and get stuck like with memory foam. And thanks to over 1,400 air chambers in the GelFlex grid, you will sleep cooler on a Purple mattress. Purple has a wide variety of mattresses, from the original Purple mattress to the Restore Hybrid collection that combines GelFlex grid with coils, and the Rejuvenate Luxe collection, the height of luxury, with over 112,000 5-star reviews to prove it. Visit purple.com to find the perfect Purple for you and enter code podcast10 to get 10% off.
Now, with the MLB app, you can get baseball your way. Pick your favorite team, your favorite players, and get customized highlights, stories, and breaking news right on your home feed. Follow the action with Game Day, where 3D replays add another dimension. Plus, notifications can keep you connected to every pitch, every hit, every game. The MLB app. Baseball your way. Download it now for free from the App Store or Google Play. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission.
This is the Bob and Jeff Show.
He's joining us now, Jim Ed Norman, longtime musician from the state of Florida. I mistakenly said you grew up with Don Henley. You may have grown up a little bit musically with Don Henley, but you met him when you were both at North Texas State University. Jim Ed, thank you for being on the show. It's a great honor to have you.
It's my pleasure. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you just fine. So,
okay,
my son Jeff,
listen, you said Henley. I thought we were going to talk about Philadelphia. I got a text from Jeff saying the Eagles, and I thought, I love Philadelphia. And Jalen Hurts is doing so well. I mean, they kind of tanked last year, but I thought, I don't get called often for sports. I don't know anything about sports, except you said I was from Florida, and you're absolutely right. When somebody would question me through the years and say, you've done a lot of producing, you've done a lot of stuff in music. What's your favorite record, Jim Ed? And I'd say, my favorite record. That would be 17-0, the Miami Dolphins, 1972.
There you go.
That's good stuff.
We do want to turn this away from sports, okay?
Okay.
If that's okay.
Shucks.
Well, that's okay. So, as I said,
Chiefs are the hottest team in the business right now.
They are pretty good, and they're just up the road from us. So we know we get a lot of Chiefs information on this show, undoubtedly. So tell us how this all came about in way back when you were in college, and how you met Don Henley, and how you formed the band Felicity in 1969, and where that all went, and it became Shiloh, and then you met Kenny Rogers. It's a story that's been told, but not necessarily from your lips, to us at least. Tell us a little bit about that.
And how fast do I tell it?
You can go at your own pace.
So the first thing to say is the band Felicity had existed prior to my meeting Don. They had been together since junior high school. I met Don at, as you mentioned, North Texas State. I'd gone there to participate in the big band program. North Texas State in those days, and still is, the preeminent big band jazz school in the country, in the world for that matter. You had that school supplying Woody Herman, Stan Kenton. I mean, the list went on and on and on. And I'd gone there for that. I met Don one day walking down I think it was a beautiful fall day. People had their doors open to their apartments, grills out on the sidewalk, music blaring from the apartments, and I happened to pass by one, saw a guy sitting on a couch, and as he tells it, he was playing a Led Zeppelin record, and I went back to my place and got a record, and I said, "You need to listen to this." It was a group called the Dillards. They were a progressive bluegrass group, and I met Don in that moment. We became friends, had similar interests. When he talks about the experience of me giving him the Dillards record, he says, "It changed my life. It gave me a whole new perspective on music." We would drive into Fort Worth to see music acts and what have you. I got to know other members of the band when they would come into North Texas. Don's apartment, where a lot of the equipment got stored, so that when they would drive out of Northeast Texas on their way to play a gig at UT in Austin, they would stop at Don's and load up. I'd help them load. So I got to know the guys, and I had gone back to Florida. This was 1969, summer of 69, and I was working at Kennedy Space Center, Apollo 11. I have a little plaque that says, "If it wasn't for me, we wouldn't have made it to the moon." And I got a call from Don, and he said that there had been an unfortunate and catastrophic for them at the moment accident. One of the members of the band had been killed on a motorcycle. And he said, "You have similar tastes and interests. You know the guys somewhat. Would you be interested in being in a band again?" I used to play in bands in Florida as a kid growing up. And at this point, I think I'd come to grips with the fact that I was not an academic and was not cut out for that world. And so I dropped out of school and went up to a little town in northeast Texas, just south of Texarkana, called Linden, Texas. And we began to rehearse and played parties and proms all around Texas, nightclubs there in Dallas and what have you. The relationship with Kenny that you mentioned, Kenny Rogers, had preceded me. It had actually been already in place and underway. They had recorded one single when then this accident happened. So I joined the band. We began to change somewhat of maybe the direction, the reasonable word to use, that the introduction of a steel guitar to the band, and we took on what in those days was a fairly new designation, country rock. But we went to Los Angeles. Kenny was our record producer. We made an album, and the album did like many albums can do, which is not very well. And the changed change in direction, the stresses that can come. I'm sure if you haven't spent a lot of time with bands, you've been around enough and heard enough stories to know that bands, it's a tough environment where you have different perspectives and opinions about what direction you want to go, what you want to do, what you even want to say, the nature of songs and songwriting. And so the band broke up in Los Angeles, and essentially people went their separate ways. Don got with Glenn Fry, became the foundation there of the Eagles. Richard Bowden and Michael Bowden went to play with Ronstadt. Al Perkins, the steel guitar player, went to play with the Rolling Stones. And I went to work in a record store. I had, by this point, also decided that I didn't want to be in a band anymore. I wanted to be an orchestral arranger, a record producer. I wanted to learn about the business. And so I went to work in a record store, retail. That was sort of that final exchange between the creative process and the consumer in those days. And so I went to work in a record store, and one thing led to another, to another, to another. I was fortunate in that the record that we had done that had been the group Shiloh. On that record, my contribution, one of my contributions, I would say that. Fortunately, I only wrote 2 songs on the Shiloh record, and even more fortunate was the fact that one of them was a steel guitar instrumental. And people always say, well, why do you say that? I say, because people they couldn't hear what an idiot I was, because the lyrics weren't really good in the song that I had written on the album. And so on that steel guitar instrumental, I'd convinced Kenny that he needed to give me a shot writing a little orchestral piece. So he said, okay, you can do a string quartet. So I was able to write the string quartet to go with the steel guitar instrumental. Don did not forget that, and that was my real interest and passion. And so when they were working on their second album, they ended up calling me and giving me my shot and my chance to be an arranger of a substance, if you will. And
well, Jim, we have just a few minutes, so we got a lot we want to ask you about. So I'm gonna turn it over to my son Jeff.
Okay. I'll fast forward, Jim Ed, to the Hotel California tour and all the logistics behind that, because they were local musicians. Obviously, they got the music ahead of time and had it down by the time you guys all went on stage. But was that difficult to arrange and get that all coordinated?
No. We had a contractor that traveled with us who had dealt with a local contractor in every city. We had great players. They were all real good players, and because they got the music in advance and knew what they were going to play. The music was not that difficult. My philosophy in arranging had been really to surround the song and the singer. So what I wrote was not that difficult. There was one piece that had to be focused on a bit more than others. It was totally the orchestra piece that was based around the song Wasted Time. And it was an orchestral piece just called Wasted Time Reprise. And it was the most difficult piece, and that would require a little bit more focus. But again, these were all seasoned people, and it really wasn't difficult.
Jim Ed Norman is our guest. He has had an incredible life in the world of music. He's worked very closely with our idol, Don Henley. I've said often, Jim, I'm 69 years old. I became an Eagles fan in 1972. Don Henley is my favorite entertainer of all time, and I've paid very close attention to a lot of entertainers. I'm amazed by his talents. So tell us a little bit about those talents and what made Don Henley the force that he became.
Well, let me see. Some of it would be a function of just life and birth, an amazing voice that was just given. He also took his pursuits seriously. He was an English major at North Texas, and he was well-read. He began to understand probably more quickly than others and sooner than others the turn of the phrase and the gift of what the written word could provide in the context of a melody and a harmonic progression. That so much of music that grew out of the 60s and the early days, I don't want to say it was all banal, but there were a lot of music that did not focus on the lyric structure and sentiment and storytelling, if you will. And I think Don understood more quickly than most the value of a serious attention to the written word, and he would fret over the most minute part of that turn of the phrase, and the value of even the and thee and for and but, and how those things would be placed in the context of what it is that he was saying. And I remember him at times standing in the studio with his yellow legal pad in front of him, where he would still be working on the lyric structure of a song. And he was then fortunate in that whatever he came up with to say and melodically that was that insinuated there melodically, he was also capable of delivering it vocally. So I would say that would be the foremost part of who he is, what he has been able to accomplish. And then he's also a man of, I think, great character, sincere in his beliefs politically, his sense of urgency about the world, the state of the world, environmentalism, and that kind of thing. And so early on, as he began to have success, he turned his attention to things other than just the creative pursuits that had gotten him there, and has made wonderful, wonderful contributions to the world at large, along with the world of music.
I wanted to ask you, Jim Ed, real quick about the Desperado album and what kind of a challenge that was for you, kind of the first project of that magnitude. You were writing parts that were being played by the London Philharmonic. They were recorded over in London. It was a concept album that I'm sure you had to try to grasp also. So what was that all like?
Well, it was an amazing experience because other than the little string quartet that I'd written on the Shiloh record, Desperado was the very first thing I ever did with an orchestra. And I frequently just skip over the string quartet thing and just say Desperado was the first arrangement I ever did. And it was daunting in that I chose a different structure for the orchestra. I had 36 players. The players were from, as you mentioned, the London Philharmonic, but Queen's Chamber Orchestra, London Symphony Orchestra, various aggregations of people. And as they all walked into the studio that day, I was introduced to each one of them individually. And the contractor would say, Jim Ed, this is Cleve Francis. By the way, you might be interested to know he played on Yesterday. And so by the time I was standing in front of the orchestra, I was sufficiently rattled, knees shaking, worried sick is the best way to put it. And I remember going out into the record room. There were the chairs. I saw no headphones for the orchestra. And I went back in to ask the engineer, producer, a very successful, famous fella named Glenn Johns, and said, Glenn, there's no headphones out there. And he said, well, yes, you're going to conduct, aren't you, mate? I said, well, I guess I will. And so that day I became an orchestral arranger and a conductor and composer, all in a single fell swoop. That night we'd gone to dinner, the guys and I, we all went to dinner to kind of celebrate. It was their first experience hearing their music portrayed in such fashion. And we went to dinner, and I don't know, the gravity of the moment somehow caught up to me to where I ended up saying, gosh, how did you guys talk Glenn Johns? This is the guy who worked with the Beatles and the Stones, and I'd been in there in the evening. He was working on a Rod Stewart record. And I said, how did you talk Glenn Johns into this? And they said, well, Jim Eddie, he didn't think you were going to be able to do it. He had Paul Buckmaster waiting in the wings to take care of it. Paul Buckmaster was a famous orchestral arranger, had done all the Elton John music and what have you. So it was daunting, but fortunately, everything worked out. There was a moment when conducting Desperado, I was going, I wonder how this is going. And I continued to conduct, and I looked back over my shoulder because my back was to the control room where everyone was sitting. And I remember looking over my shoulder, and I saw Don and Glenn Fry. They were staring sort of at the speakers. The speakers frequently would be up in the wall, and they would be looking ahead intently, and they had their mouths agape, wide open. And I went, oh, that could be taken two ways. It's either that they like it or, oh my goodness, what in the world is going on? Fortunately, when I walked in, it turned out they liked it. And it really set in motion for me all that came later. The people who I'd been knocking on doors trying to get to let me arrange, finally when they saw that credit said, Jim Ed, I didn't know you were an arranger. And so they gave me a shot, and I went on to then work with Seeger and Kim Carnes and America and various other people. And actually one day got a phone call from a well-known record executive in the business, a fellow named Clive Davis, who said, I understand you want to produce records. I know you'll work with the Eagles. Would you be willing to meet with me? I want to talk to you about producing. And so the Eagles even led to my subsequently then being a producer as well. So Desperado.
Well, you've had an incredible
of it all.
I'm sorry, I stepped on you. My bad. You've had an incredible career in music, and it's still going. You're still out there working and doing all kinds of things. We appreciate you coming on the show today to talk about your career, how it intertwined with Don Henley and the Eagles. We'll probably ask you to come back on someday, Jim Ad. Thank you very much for your time.
You guys have my pleasure. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. There you go, Jim Ed Norman, who good stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Could talk to him for a lot longer, but we have this radio format. Comedian Derek Stroop, he joins us. We're sorry to get to you a little late, Derek. We had an interview that ran a little long. Our apologies. How are you?
Oh, no worries at all. Just glad to be here. I'm doing great. How y'all doing today?
We're doing good. We're happy to have you on the show. You've got a brand new comedy album out called Eating Dinner Twice. You're on the road touring with your comedy act. How'd you get into comedy? What made you go that direction? I always ask when we have comedians on the show, when did you know you were funny?
Oh, yeah. When did I know I was funny? That would have started at probably a young age, getting in trouble, being a rascal. But when I really believed I was funny was probably the locker rooms growing up, when you're in high school and you start joking around with your peers and your buddies, and you kind of get in that environment. You're in the 11th, 12th grade, and you really start getting comfortable with making fun of each other and having a good time. That's about the time I probably believed it. But I got into comedy, and I used to run a bar in the town I went to college in, and I just decided if I heard Wagon Wheel one more time, I was going to jump out a window. So I decided to do comedy about once every 3 months, just for my friends and as a fun little thing. And one thing led to another, and then here we are 9 years later. I moved to Colorado from Alabama 9 years ago, and things have been moving fast ever since.
Yeah, I guess the follow-up to when did you know you were funny is when did you know you had a perspective? Because that's kind of what comedy and stand-up comedy is all about, setting yourself apart, telling stories uniquely, sharing things about your own life. So when did you know you had a perspective? When did you know that, your life you could draw upon your own experiences for things that you said on stage?
That I don't think you can know that until you get in front of an audience. And that's when I found out, I've always had a unique perspective. That's what I've been told. I kind of see things through a different light. I think Southerners do in general. We explain things different. We see things a little different sometimes from the life we live down there. And so I didn't realize that was unique or anybody even cared to hear that until I got in front of an audience and, did some open mics, did a couple shows, and then I realized, oh, well, maybe my voice is unique. Maybe the way I observe things is different. Because when you grow up in the South, which I think is where most of the funniest people are, you don't know that you're that funny because everybody around you is pretty similar. And then you go to the middle of the country and you just start talking about your afternoon and everybody goes, now that's talent. And you go, well, I'm just telling you what I did today. So, it's interesting how that comes about. That's
good stuff. We're talking with Derek Stroop. He's out on tour right now. He's got a brand new comedy album out. You've been on tour with people like Bert Kreischer and Larry the Cable Guy, John Criss, Nate Bargatze. You've developed your own style of comedy, and it's high energy. Tell us about that. How did that all come about? Where you have to try to you have to try to set yourself apart a little bit, I would think.
Yeah, I think mine came about pretty natural in the fact that I've always kind of ran in a high gear. I'm an excitable person. It's easy to get me going. I start at 0, but I get to 100 in a hurry, and I didn't realize how well that would play on stage. My whole life I've always been told that I was a lot. You're a lot, and then you get on stage and everybody goes, no, that's the perfect amount. And then the frustration and the yelling, and I found that a little bit as I went on, as the years went on, and maybe my 5th, 6th, 7th year of comedy. I was in Denver on stage in the back of a bookstore, and they weren't giving me anything. They hated my accent. I feel like they were projecting a lot of thoughts on me, and I snapped, and I started getting angry and kind of yelling the same bits that I was doing. I started to yell them, and I started to say I'm frustrated. And the room just got into a tizzy, and everybody started laughing. And then I realized that might be an angle for me.
So, there's a lot of really good comedy that is coming out of the South. I think traditionally there's been a lot of good comedy that's come out of the South. So what kind of necessitated the move for you to Colorado? How did that change maybe your presentation or your point of view? And how have you kind of shared those new experiences on stage, or is it just about sharing the old experiences because people in kind of this part of the country are a little foreign to that?
That whole album, the Eating Dinner Twice album that I've got out is really a lot about the move from Alabama to Colorado. At least half that album is because, that's about as close to time travel as you can really get. and I talk about it a lot, all the way from, the perspective of Carhartt. It became a mainstream brand. Hipsters love Carhartt, which blew my mind. I'm from Harvest, Alabama. We've been wearing Carhartt my whole life. I never thought it was never cool. We never put on Carhartt in high school and thought, man, the women are in trouble today. That's not how that worked. And to see now, everybody that works remotely is dressed like a chicken farmer. That jumps off the page to me. What might not to other people, but to me, those type of observations are very clear to me, and I just take them right to stage and been getting a really good response out of it.
Talking with comedian Derek Stroop, his new comedy album is called Eating Dinner Twice. It's on Larry the Cable Guy's label, Get Her Done Records. So I would imagine that's one of your inspirations, Larry the Cable Guy. Who else? Who else have you kind of paid attention to as you have honed your craft?
Well, the first comedy special that I ever saw that really piqued my interest in comedy was Robin Williams live on Broadway, 2006. He's a complete lunatic in that set, and it let me know that comedy can be done in several different ways. It doesn't have to be this certain cha-cha, bang, bang punchline, because I don't do comedy that way. And so that was the first inspiration. But besides that, the best way to describe me and the people that have inspired me, I'm somewhere between Ron White and Bill Burr. I've got a little Lewis Black in me. And those are just guys that I've always enjoyed that, almost don't even seem like they're telling jokes. It just seems like that they're talking, and the funniest parts are just where they're kind of frustrated or where they're making a point that you didn't see coming. And so those guys, I would say, would kind of be the nucleus of what got me here today. Been a big Ron White fan my whole life.
Yeah, so you talked about going 9 years ago, and I try to follow comedy pretty closely, and I listened to your album today. It's very good. I'm just always interested in how kind of the grind changes, because it seems like, things have changed in comedy. Now you have to be on reels. You have to produce short content. You have to have a podcast a lot of the times. You have to be a guest on people's podcasts. So how has it changed for you, and what's been a kind of tried and true way that you found to kind of build an audience?
That's a great question. With me, it was a tough transition. I'm not naturally a tech guy or a social media guy. I didn't get into comedy to have anything to do with social media, so that was a big adjustment for me, and took me a little bit to figure that out. I just wanted to be funny. I wanted to grab a microphone and talk to strangers. So for me, it's been reels. It's been just sharing clips. I've got 3 or 4 clips that have gone viral, and that's the name of the game these days. It's just, unfortunately, there's just more. You got a lot of TikTok comedians and stuff that are going to kind of clog up the schedule, and sometimes you got to wait for them to be terrible on stage a couple times before you get to get in behind them, because they have 1 million followers, because they can do a handstand holding mayonnaise. So
I am with you.
Yeah, so I am doing it the old-fashioned way. I have the same management as Nate Bargatze and Jim Gaffigan and those guys. So I grind it out in the clubs and small rooms and hone my act night after night, city after city, and I think it's a better product in the end.
Final question here for Derek Stroop. He is out on tour. Of course, we don't really have a comedy club in Wichita anymore, but he will be nearby. He'll be in Springfield, Missouri, later in August, and in Kansas City, Missouri, coming up in December. So what's the meaning of eating dinner twice?
Well, it's exactly how it sounds. I'm a big fan of fourth meal, and initially it was fourth meal, and then Taco Bell did not love that. So we switched it to more of a literal version, which I ended up liking better. But it's just a fun story on there about how I learned about taco trucks. I didn't know anything about them, man. And when I moved out here and they were like, hey, this guy's going to fill his truck up with burritos and drive around until he finds you. That's humbling. That's a blessing. And so I got a nice long story about my experience with taco trucks, and that's kind of where the name of the album came from, to to give people a heads up of what they're getting into.
Well, we really, really appreciate your time, Derek. We wish you the best of continued success. You're one of those comedians who really is starting to become a guy. So thank you for being on the show today. Best of luck with your new comedy album, Eating Dinner Twice. We hope to talk with you another time.
Thank you all so much for having me. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Winfield, Kansas. That's where my fiance's family's from. Love that little town. Just wanted to give them a shout out.
That's where I'm from.
Yeah. Oh, really?
I was born there.
That's where. Yeah, my wife
I was born there before hospital.
Yeah, her grandparents lived there, and her sister, and I mean, she's got most of her family lives in Winfield, and it's a great little place. So I wanted to give it a shout before I hopped off of here.
All right, cool. Thank you, Derek. We appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thank y'all. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
Comedian Derek Stroop, our guest. We'll be back. We've got close to an hour left. Timing's been a little off today, but we're getting it. We're right there.
It's all
back
good.
In a minute.
Radio.
Now it's time for another fanschmabulous episode of
The Bob and Jeff Show, starring Bob Lutz.
You're going to tell this listening audience who adores me. Let's be honest.
Oh, behave.
Jeff Lutz.
I'm spreading my wing. This is me to the nth degree.
Wow! Hey! Isn't that exciting?
97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Stand by for action.
Welcome back, everyone. Hour number 2, the Bob and Jeff Show, KFH Radio. Bob Lutz, Jeff Lutz, your co-host, Max Power, producing, engineering, 869-1240. Had a couple of interviews in hour number 1. Jim Ed Norman talked about his association with Don Henley and the Eagles. I asked him a question, and he talked for 10 minutes.
You asked him 9 questions in that question.
It was a great question.
It was a terrible question.
And it could have been condensed by Jim Ed, but he likes. I asked him to tell a story, and he told a story.
Tell us about when you were born, the first day of your life, your
that's not what I asked.
First grade teacher, getting into music.
Then we had comedian Derek Stroop on as well. You can always go back and listen to our interviews or any part of our show on the Odyssey app or at kfhradio.com. Don Williams from the Lubbock Avalanche Journal will join us at 3:25 as we continue Big 12 football previews.
He won't be long-winded.
I'm having some difficulty getting all these booked, but I'm working it.
Do what you got to do, man.
I've got Arizona State booked for tomorrow. I've got West Virginia booked for Monday. Having a little trouble with Utah and BYU.
Well, those guys don't like to chat.
But we'll continue working it. That's what I do. I'm dogged in my determination.
Yeah.
By the way, I hope Max saved the clip of comedian Derek Stroop laughing.
Was that a
very
laugh?
loud at what I said.
Ha, ha. I don't think that's a laugh.
Max, do you have a clip of that yet? I would think that.
Please don't. I'll quit the show.
Well, it's just my general feeling that I can go toe to toe.
Do you think that's funny? I mean, it was such a hacky line, though.
Say that again, Max.
Give me a second. I'll get it.
Yeah, Max will get
Please, just run it in a promo sometime at 3 a.m. And
why does it bother you so much?
Because it's just not in my DNA to try to be funny around people who are our guests, for one, and also much funnier than I could be.
Thank you.
Professional.
I thank you very much. That's a nice compliment you just
For what?
gave. You just said I'm funnier than you could ever be.
No, I was talking about our guest.
No, I think we know who you were talking
about. That's why I said our guest.
Well, as you know, it's kind of become a thing now on this show.
Not really.
When we have a comedian, can Bob step up his game?
Can Bob give us the hackiest line possible? Oh, that was before there were hospitals. Oh, my God.
I loved it.
So played.
Well, he loved it.
Did he?
Well, we'll see.
He said, "Ha," and then we'll resumed talking.
When Max gets the clip finished, we'll play and let the people judge.
I think he's so good at comedy that it was like a transition. He didn't care what you had to say, but he gave you the cursory laugh.
We
so then
connected
he could
when he
ease
mentioned.
into
We connected when he mentioned
talking
Winfield,
about
right?
Winfield. Yeah,
that's a connection
we all
have.
have a connection to Winfield.
You don't have one.
Yeah, sure I do.
What's yours?
My wife lived in Winfield when I met her.
But you didn't. You never lived in Winfield.
I didn't.
I did. For the first 2 years of my life.
I don't think this person ever lived in Winfield.
Well, his wife did.
Mine too.
But she's from there, apparently.
Well, my wife's from Ark City. It's not that big of a difference.
I don't have a connection to Ark City.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I did have a cousin who lived there.
Who?
Well, you don't need to know.
Curtis?
No.
The only cousin we ever had?
Curtis isn't a cousin. He's my nephew.
Where is Curtis?
Well, look him up.
What's his...
Find him.
Well, tell me his last name and I will. Not right now, but...
We'll get on it at some point. The Olympics continue. Jim Harbaugh violating some NCAA ethics rules. He gets a pretty severe penalty. Only one problem, he's in the NFL now.
And he'll never have to face that penalty.
The NCAA, could you look more clownish? I mean, really.
What are you going to do?
What are you? Well, just don't do anything.
So, yeah, you're probably right. It's a 4-year show cause. So
and if he were to ever give him a phone call, say, Jim, if you ever try to get back into college coaching, here's what we're going to drop on you. So I hope this works in the NFL because I just want you to be aware that your days in college are probably over. And then move on.
At least for 4 years.
We don't even need to know about it, right?
Yeah, I don't need to know about it. I don't need to hear Jim Harbaugh speak ever again.
Or his attorney, or anybody.
Is Jim Harbaugh the fakest human being you've ever seen out there?
I don't know. The guy can win. The guy's successul. How do you explain it?
That's one of my sixth senses. I have a number of sixth senses.
Why is he successful?
I can spot a phony.
Are phonies successful?
Well, sometimes, sure.
How? If you're a phony,
you can be a phony personally, but still have skills. And
well, what's phony about
when he gets in front of the media and the way he talks and acting like he's some morally upstanding? You're just a guy like everybody else, Jim. Just be.
If he was in this room right now, what would you say to him?
I'd say, Jim, talk like a human being.
You'd say that?
Yes.
To him. Really? Well, I'm going to get Jim Harbaugh on this show.
Please do.
And
why do you get up in front of the media and talk in these weird, like, proverbial type?
But isn't that just kind of who he is?
No, that's who nobody is.
That's who he's presented himself
and
as.
That's a phony.
I don't know.
I do.
John's not a phony,
right? And he's not like that, is he?
The Harbaugh, his dad's tremendous. It's a good family. I don't know if I'm.
I've always been able to spot a phony.
What am I? Am I a phony?
Not really.
What am I?
If you can
spot it.
Just a normal guy.
Am I funny?
No.
Well, what do you mean?
I can spot funny too.
Am I? What am I?
Just a guy.
What? How would you describe me?
Just a guy.
That's it.
Yeah.
Nothing beyond that.
I would say you're
just a guy.
I would say you're.
What a terrible thing.
I would say you're generally authentic. I'm probably a little more authentic, but what are you going to do?
Well, you're more authentic, and you're dull as this cabinet.
No, I am not. I'm an extremely
authentic. Can only get you so far.
Well, I'd rather be authentic and
dull. You think
dull.
Derek Stroop went along? You think that comedy he does now, where he's up there like a screaming,
Yeah, I think
you think that's authentic.
Yeah, that's how he felt at the time. He explained it to us. And he doesn't scream all of his jokes.
No.
He screamed them once because he was frustrated. And
he gets pretty hyper.
Yeah, but I like him.
Well, I like him too. But you got to step out of your authenticity occasionally.
Absolutely not. Not in comedy.
Once in a while.
Not in comedy. Absolutely not.
You're talking to a guy who understands comedy.
Obviously not. You have to be yourself.
All right, let's go to the clip from hour number one.
You're gonna love this, Jeff.
The interview with Derek Stroop. Max has it. And we'll let the audience judge. I mean, they're the ultimate judge. Go ahead, Max.
Thank you all so much for having me. I just wanted to give a quick shout-out to Winfield, Kansas. That's where my fiance's family's from. Love that little town. Just wanted to give them a shout-out.
That's where I'm from.
Yeah. Oh, really?
I was born there.
That's where, yeah, my wife
was born there before hospital.
Yeah, her grandparents lived there, and
that's so nothing.
Even you laugh.
I was trying to help you out because I knew that whatever reaction he had would be, unfortunately for him,
wait a minute,
us, inauthentic.
Oh, really? So
yes.
that was a little laugh from you. I don't know that I've had the double laughter before.
I was trying to help you because I did not. I mean, that guy has some dignity and pride, I thought. Maybe not. And I didn't think he'd give a reaction. So I just wanted to break up the silence.
Let's see what Jason Duda has to say, who's probably the least funny person I've ever known.
He's up there.
Not funny, he says. Well, you know what Jason Duda thinks is funny?
Shorzy, the best show on television.
Yeah, that or whatever.
Not only the best show on television, the best show in the history of television.
Has Duda ever said anything funny that you know of?
Sure.
He has?
I'm sure, yeah.
On this show?
Probably.
I don't remember.
Yeah, he's one of the funniest people I know.
Jason, you're talking about Jason Duda.
Yeah, he's hilarious. Why is he not here today?
Because I told him not to be.
Really?
Because we had 2 entertainment interviews, and what's Duda going to ask these guys? Hey, Jim Ad, what's your favorite restaurant?
Well, maybe. Would have had a shorter answer. I shouldn't have said that. I apologize.
Why did you say that?
I apologize to Jim Ed and his family.
That was pretty mean of you.
So when is Dude on?
Well, I just got a great text from my wife. Happy to see.
She said you're funny?
Oh yeah.
That's all that you need.
Well, my wife does think I'm funny. That's important. There's no thinking to it.
Has she ever really laughed at something?
Oh my God.
You said?
We have had so much laughter.
What was the last funny thing you said?
I don't know, but we enjoy one another's company. We laugh, we cry,
You cry?
We mingle.
You cry.
Well, of course we cry.
That's funny.
Why is that funny?
Jason Duda doesn't cry.
Jason Duda doesn't have an emotion.
He's a man's man.
Yes. He thinks he is.
So when's he going to be on?
Tomorrow.
Friday?
And Friday.
Oh my goodness.
I got guests to book though. I got to get
Well,
some people
Duda's the
on
guest. I mean, Duda's.
No, I got to get a guest.
We need headphones is what we need so he can
figure that out.
That's not going to be me.
Get here early tomorrow and figure that out. We need one pair of headsets hooked in.
I thought Tony was going to come.
Maybe I can get Tony to come. He wants me to bring this laptop over to him. I got to do that.
Well, we got an interview tomorrow. Are we going to run that interview tomorrow?
Did you reach out to Tony?
Yes, everyone is aware of what needs to happen and is ready.
Well, we're talking with WWE star Drew McIntyre tomorrow, so we'll see. We'll see when we air it.
Okay.
There's no rush.
No rush. They're here in December.
Right.
With the Monday Night Raw crew, but
and it's only August.
There's a little timeliness because he's involved in some storylines that might not continue all the way to December.
We'll see. We'll get Drew on. So, yeah, that's coming up tomorrow. We'll take a break right now, and when we return, we continue Big 12 football previews with Don Williams from the Lubbock Avalanche Journal. We'll break down the Texas Tech Red Raiders next.
Now, with the MLB app, you can get baseball your way. Pick your favorite team, your favorite players, and get customized highlights, stories, and breaking news right on your home feed. Follow the action with Game Day, where 3D replays add another dimension. Plus, notifications can keep you connected to every pitch, every hit, every game. The MLB app. Baseball, your way. Download it now for free from the App Store or Google Play. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission.
Nothing is more important than getting a good night's sleep, and when you don't get the rest you need, your whole day is thrown off. That's why it's so important to choose the right mattress. Sleeping on a Purple mattress is truly a unique experience because Purple mattresses are made with a GelFlex grid. The GelFlex grid is an innovative material that moves with your body to relieve pressure in areas like knees and hips and support in others like your back. It feels soft where you want it and supports where you need it. Purple mattresses instantly adapt when you move. You don't sink in and get stuck like with memory foam. And thanks to over 1,400 air chambers in the GelFlex grid, you will sleep cooler on a Purple mattress. Purple has a wide variety of mattresses, from the original Purple mattress to the Restore Hybrid collection that combines GelFlex grid with coils, and the Rejuvenate Luxe collection, the height of luxury, with over 112,000 five-star reviews to prove it. Visit purple.com to find the perfect Purple for you and enter code podcast10 to get 10% off.
Temp check. What kind of summer are we having this year? A family road trip summer? A beach bum summer? Or a wake me when the sun sets summer? With Instacart, choose your own adventure and skip the shopping side quests. Where available, you can get ice cream delivered to your hotel, sunscreen to the pool, or cold brew to your bed. Well, door. In as fast as 30 minutes. Wherever you find yourself this summer, you can get the goods. Download Instacart for free delivery on your first 3 orders. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum $10 per order. Excludes restaurants. Additional terms and fees apply.
This is the Bob and Jeff Show.
Don Williams from the Lubbock Avalanche Journal. We're going to talk some Texas Tech football. But first, Don, how many years now on the beat?
Well, counting my time at the campus paper, I think this is year 39 for me, since 1986.
Impressive.
That's just amazing in this day and age. The industry, you probably noticed, Don, it's changed a little bit.
Yeah, it's changed a lot. It's changed a ton. Certainly the way we used to do things back in the mid '80s and into the '90s compared to how it is today is very different. And I'm just I'm grateful to still be doing it.
So let's talk about Texas Tech. And we've talked on this show quite a bit about how that there might be some favorites in the Big 12, but there are also some teams that could sneak in and be somewhat surprise type of teams. And I think Texas Tech probably falls into that category. They really revamped their entire offense, and they don't play KU, K-State, Utah, or Central Florida. So are things kind of looking up in Lubbock?
They are. They've won 3. They've ended the last 3 seasons by winning bowl games. Bowl games against teams from other what used to be Power 5 conferences. Ended 21 season beating Ole Miss. Ended 21 season beating Mississippi State. Ended 02 season beating Ole Miss, and ended last season beating Cal in the Independence Bowl in Shreveport. And along with that, Joey McGuire's gone 8-5, 7-6 the last 2 years. Along with that, he's had 2 recruiting classes now that have been ranked in the top 25 back-to-back years by the recruiting services, by Rivals and 24 and 24/7 and so on. And so there's a real sense that they have been upgrading their talent base, upgrading the caliber of player that they have on their roster, I think justifiably so, because the recruiting, those top 25 recruiting rankings last couple of years are way higher, way better than what they were in about 5, 6, 8 years prior to that. And so they've kind of amassed a pretty good base of young talent in their redshirt freshman and sophomore classes. They've supplemented that by as most teams do these days, landed some transfer portal guys that they feel really good about, including a couple of offensive linemen. They got a wide receiver from Washington State named Josh Kelly that was close to 1,000 yards receiving last year. And so they feel like they're primed to, as you alluded to, be one of those teams that could make noise in the Big 12 this year. And I think it's kind of interesting because nobody has Texas. I was making this remark to somebody just a couple hours ago. Nobody has Texas or Oklahoma on their schedule this year, so I feel like there's a lot of teams that look at their schedule and say, "Hey, we could win. We could go 8-1 or 7-2 in this conference. Our schedule's not that hard." But I think there's a lot of teams probably saying that. But it'll be interesting because I think there realistically are 8 or 9 teams that it would not be shocking to see them in the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah, I agree. Don Williams with us from the Lubbock Avalanche Journal. So the Red Raiders they open with Abilene Christian on the last day of this month, and they have Washington State and North Texas, and then Arizona State, Cincinnati, and Arizona, the first 3 games in the Big 12. Have you wrapped your head around all this and the massive changes that we're seeing and how the Big 12 looks so much different today than it did just a couple of years ago?
Yeah, and I think, a couple of years ago, even as recently as, like you said, two, maybe 3 years ago, who could have predicted that there would be no more Pac-12? I mean, you and I can remember when it's the Pac-8, when we were young, and then the Pac-10. And I never imagined that there would be a time where there were no kind of anchor major conference on the West Coast. And I just never conceived of it until it was upon us. And so, no, to answer your question, it is very hard to wrap our minds around, and it's hard to really compare it to any other thing. I'm coming up on 60 years old, and it's hard for me to really compare it to any other time in my life because I always felt like we had regional, kind of geographic, regionally based conferences, and every conference had its 1 or 2 banner programs in the. The Southwest Conference, you had Texas and Texas A&M, and then Arkansas, and the Big 8, you had Oklahoma, Nebraska, and the Big 10, and you had Ohio State and Michigan, and USC and UCLA, and the Pac-8 and 10 and 12, and the ACC had some North Carolina and its schools. So to see it go the way it's gone, who would have imagined it even 10 or 12 years ago?
You mentioned, kind of reshaping the offense, bringing in new offensive linemen. They've got new receivers. They've got a freshman receiver. They've got a tight end out of the portal, but the backfield's the same. Taj Brooks at running back, Baron Morton at quarterback. What will be the challenge for the coaching staff and for Baron Morton himself to kind of be able to integrate so many new pieces into an offense?
Well, I think you just alluded to it right there. I think the challenge will be that they're counting on a lot of new guys who have credentials. But as it pertains to, let's say, Baron Morton in particular, there's high expectations on the young man that I mentioned, Josh Kelly from Washington State, called about 60 passes for 923 yards last year. So obviously they're expecting him to make a big impact. They have a wide receiver from Florida, a kid named Caleb Douglas. He was a sophomore. He was starting for the first 5 games last year at Florida and then suffered a season-ending injury. He's a Texas kid that came back home. He was a highly regarded recruit, and so they're expecting big things from him right off the bat. And then they signed a 5-star receiver named Micah Hudson from the Waco area, out of Baylor's backyard. And he's probably the most highly anticipated true freshman receiver, I would say, since Lloyd Hill back in the late 1980s. And so they're expecting him to, Joey McGuire has really highly touted him because he said he thinks he can handle it. He says he's the most talented young receiver he's ever had. And he's had multiple guys who played in the NFL that he coached in high school. And so the challenge, I think, is to get all those guys on the same page and to do it rather quickly. you know what you got at running back with Taj Brooks. And then the other kind of storyline, thing's been a storyline around here for the last year, really, has been Baron Morton's health, because he got hurt in the Big 12 opener last year, was diagnosed as a grade 3 tear of the AC joint, grade 3 sprain of the AC joint. And he played through it really the rest of last season. And, left off with him being, outstanding offensive player in the Independence Bowl. And he thought, okay, well, that's behind him. He threw for 250 yards and 3 touchdowns last night and looked fine. And so we kind of put it out of our minds. They start spring practice, and then after 6 sessions of spring practice, they said after the first scrimmage, the normal soreness had not subsided in a day or two like it normally did. And so they shut him down. He missed the last 9 sessions of spring ball. So then he went and saw a couple of high-profile orthopedic surgeons. They did not recommend surgery. They thought he was better off just rest and healing. And anyway, to kind of tie up a long story, now he said yesterday that he's making 125 to 150 throws a day, and the shoulder feels fine. But there's been so much concern about that throwing shoulder since last September. I think people want to see him go out there and look good for a month or so in real games before they're comfortable that, okay, it really is behind him.
Texas Tech coming off a 7-6 season. They capped it with a Independence Bowl win over Cal, 34-14. Talking with Don Williams from the Lubbock Avalanche Journal. Last question for you. What are your impressions of the coach, Joey McGuire?
He's interesting because, he was a very successful high school football coach in Texas, in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex at Cedar Hill. Took his team to a state championship 4 times, won 3 of them. But we know that sometimes being a great high school coach necessarily doesn't translate to being a similarly successful college head coach. I mean, we can remember the story of, Jerry Faust at Notre Dame, great high school coach who didn't cut it with the Fighting Irish. And Joey, to kind of complicate it for him, I mean, he was not a coordinator in college. Texas Tech hired him. He was a position coach at Baylor. He had been on the Baylor staff for only 5 years since his days in high school. So there was, I think, some initial concern about is he ready for this? And they hired him really largely based on just kind of force of personality, because he is such a outgoing guy with such a magnetic personality. He's popular in the Texas high school football ranks. So they signed him with the idea that he's going to upgrade, because of his personality, and his reputation in Texas high schools, he's going to upgrade the recruiting. And he's done that so far. Like I say, the talent on this team is substantially better on paper than it was really for much of the last decade. And now it's, I think the questions for him to prove are simply, game day decision making. There's been some of that. He's one of the guys who is very into the new analytics of we're going to go for it just about anywhere on the field on 4th down. We may be at our own 30-yard line, 4th and 1. We'll go for it. Or their own 38-yard line, 4th and 3. We're going to go for it. That's what the book says to do. So when you do that and you make it, great. When you do that and you don't make it, there is a not small segment of the fan base that is like, this guy's nuts. Somebody needs to take the keys away from him with these 4th and 3 calls at his own 27-yard line. So still maybe trying to prove himself in that regard. But by and large, he's a guy who's, regardless of that, it's very popular. And like I say, the fact that he's had 2 winning seasons in a row, he's on pretty firm footing right now.
Well, Don, I can't thank you enough. It's always a pleasure. You're a constant. Every time we do these Big 12 football previews, I'm scrambling to find the new beat writers for different teams, but you're always there. You're always able to come on, and we appreciate your time. Thanks for breaking down Texas Tech football.
Well, I appreciate the appreciate the invitation again. Always enjoyed the visit.
Take care,
Thanks.
Don.
All right. Y'all too. Have a good evening.
All right, Don Williams from the Lubbock Avalanche Journal. We continue with our Big 12 football. How many teams are there in the Big 12 now?
39.
I got 3 months of these previews. Season will be over by the time we get them all done. Michelle Gardner from the Arizona Republic will join us tomorrow to talk about Arizona State football. What's wrong with you?
I'll go for
Your
energy.
team lost today. That's 4 in a row.
They might win
for the
later.
Guardians. There's another game.
Yeah, they have doubleheader today, day off tomorrow, doubleheader Friday.
Against who Friday?
Minnesota.
Oh, you're in trouble.
4-game series. Minnesota's playing like garbage, too. They're getting
Oh, they'd won
smacked
5 in a
around
row
by the
before
coach.
today, hadn't they?
No, they lost yesterday.
Well, you're in deep trouble. And I think the thing is, I think you know it. You can kind of feel it.
They are, but if Minnesota doesn't seize the opportunity,
we'll
know a lot on Monday.
We'll see. White Sox gunning for their second win in a row. They're up 2-0 on Oakland right now.
60 under.
Soon to be 59, maybe.
Perhaps.
Arizona out to a 1-0 lead in the second
Already?
inning.
Seriously? That's not true, is it?
Boy, I feel bad. There's nothing
it is
worse
Carlos
than this.
Carrasco, and it is his final start, hopefully.
There's nothing worse than what you're going through.
And who did it? Who got the run? Josh Bell on a home. The guy is murdering us.
Well, he's got incentive, right?
Yeah, we gave up on him.
Eduardo Rodriguez making his debut in this game.
Yeah, and he owns the Guardian, so it's over.
I feel bad for you.
Thank you.
Lane Thomas 0 for 1.
0 for 20.
Tommy Pham's not 0 for 20.
Lane Thomas is. Take some pressure off yourself there, Lane.
You could have went out and gotten that same deal, Fetty and Pham, and instead you go for
Wonder who we would have had to give up,
Alex Cobb. And you gave up a lot for Alex Cobb. You know what the Cardinals gave up for Fetty and Pham? Tommy Edman.
No, we gave up more for Lane Thomas.
But you know what I'm
was
saying?
just a minor league pitcher.
You know what the Cardinals gave up? A guy who hadn't played all year.
Right, but a guy who's a 5 to 6 WAR player.
At his best.
If healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying they didn't give up anything.
Has he debuted with the Dodgers yet?
He has not.
Really? Wasn't he rehabbing with the Cardinals? What's going on here?
Tommy Pham's not. I don't know. That's
Tommy
why.
Edman.
Tommy Edman.
Can't have
Tommy
too many
Pham.
Tommies
Tommy.
on your team. Name all
Tommy
the Tommies.
Two-Tone. I don't care what Tommy we're talking about. You better get out there and play.
What's the Mount Rushmore of Tommies in Major League Baseball history?
Tommy Lasorda.
Yeah, no question. Tommy
Tresh. Although he went by
Tom
Tom
Tresh.
Tresh, but a lot of people called him Tommy Tresh.
Tommy Agee.
Tommie.
Yeah, I'll count it. Tommy John.
Well, of course.
And who would be the last guy?
Tommy Tresh.
He didn't go by Tommy.
He did to a certain degree. There were people who referred to him as Tommy Tresh.
Tommy Malone? Yeah,
hadn't done enough.
It drops Tommy LaStella. There aren't many Tommies after those
Tommy
three.
LaStella over Tommy Malone.
Yeah, easy. Tommy Helms?
Tommy Helms, good one. From the Cincinnati Reds.
That's probably your Mount Rushmore of Tommies.
Had some pretty good years for the Cincinnati Reds.
Tommy Herr, but he kind of went by Tom, too. So we've kind of settled on Tommy John, Tommy Lasorda, Tommy Agee, and Tommy
I think
Helms.
Tommy Herr would be in that realm.
Yeah, but I don't know if he went by Tommy as much.
His baseball reference page does not refer to him as Tommy Herr.
Correct.
It does refer. Why wouldn't Tommy Pham be in there?
Could be.
I'd put Tommy Pham ahead of Tommy Helms.
Really? Okay, well, we can put Tommy Pham in there.
Tommy Helms is a good player, but I'm not going to go gaga over the guy. You know
I'm
what
not
I'm
really
saying?
going to go gaga over Tommy Pham as the Diamondbacks take a 2-0 lead.
Tommy Helms manager. Why am I getting that page? I don't care about Tommy Helms as a manager. I care about Tommy Helms as a player. He played 14 years in the big leagues, accumulated 1,300 hits, batted .269, OPS plus of 79. That's let's see what Tommy Pham's OPS plus is.
Not probably a little better.
Well, is it better than 79?
Yes.
It's
probably over 100.
114.
Yeah, so he's over Tommy Helms for crying out loud.
That dadgum Tommy Pham's a good player.
I know he is.
You didn't think so when we were talking about him.
Just didn't want him on my team.
Do you wish you'd thought differently now?
No, not really. Didn't want him out there punching guys and causing
He's a great teammate.
problems.
Cardinals love that.
He punched a guy over fantasy football.
So what?
Is that being a good teammate?
You know what? I might do that this year when we have our draft.
Are we having a draft?
So far for the Cardinals, his OPS is 1159.
Well, good. I'm sure it'll stay there.
His OPS plus is 216. What's Lane Thomas?
211, I think.
No, really.
He's 0 for his last 20. That's what he is.
Tommy Pham is killing it.
Good. I'm sure it'll stay there at 1159 or whatever.
It doesn't matter. He's going to stay relatively high.
He either will or he won't. We don't know.
He's got
Baseball's an unpredictable game.
He's got a track record.
I hope he goes 0 for 20.
I love it when you're
offense.
in misery, and I can't wait for Duda tomorrow. We're going to just bury you.
I might not show up.
You'll come off a doubleheader loss.
We'll find a way to win this game tonight.
You'll have an off day. You'll know you're probably going to get swept again Friday.
No, we got Alex Cobb going Friday.
I feel bad for you in some ways. In some ways, I feel bad.
Might be Matt Boyd too. What a duo!
They couldn't pitch in my American Legion League.
I think Alex Cobb probably could.
All right, we appreciate everyone. Go back, listen to the show. Why wouldn't you? Even if you listen to this, go home, listen again in front of your family. Play it for everybody. Have a neighborhood block party. Play the Bob and Jeff Show, the Odyssey app. We'll see you tomorrow.
Trying to figure out what to eat for dinner yet again? With Knorr sides and bouillon as your not-so-secret ingredient, you can skip the drive-thru and do dinner at home. Knorr Taste Combos provide a menu of delicious, affordable, and well-balanced meals that you can prepare in 30 minutes or less. Visit Knorr.com to get quick and easy recipe ideas for your home-cooked weeknight dinners. It's not fast food, but it's so good.
Now, with the MLB app, you can get baseball your way. Pick your favorite team, your favorite players, and get customized highlights, stories, and breaking news right on your home feed. Follow the action with Game 10, where 3D replays add another dimension. Plus, notifications can keep you connected to every pitch, every hit, every game. The MLB app. Baseball your way. Download it now for free from the App Store or Google Play. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission.
It's a great day to venture out in a spacious and capable Toyota SUV. Like the new RAV4. With available all-wheel drive, it can go just about anywhere. And with plenty of passenger and cargo space, you'll go from morning carpool to weekend road trip without missing a beat. Plus, with available features like wireless charging and a touchscreen interface, your Toyota RAV4 will keep you connected no matter where you're going. Or check out a spacious Highlander. With seating for up to 8, it's a hub for family adventure. You'll drive in comfort and style with available heated and ventilated seats and all the latest tech. And with available hybrid models, your new Highlander can save you tons on gas. Right now, your local Toyota dealer has more vehicles in stock and is making delivery on new vehicles almost every day. So don't wait. Buy a RAV4 or Highlander today. Visit buyatoyota.com for deals and more. Toyota. Let's go places.